The relevant framework for working with different types of partners.
In his address to the 193 member nations of the Assembly, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari described the need for greater global cooperation to achieve the agenda.
The declaration that we have adopted today testifies to the urgency and the necessity for action by all of us. It is not for want of commitment that previous initiatives have failed or could not be fully realized. What seemed to be lacking in the past were political will and the required global partnership to pursue and implement the programs to which we committed ourselves. It enjoins global consensus. We have agreed to deliver as one and to leave no one behind. This is a promise worth keeping. I wish to reiterate Nigeria's commitment to the pursuit of transparent and accountable fiscal and economic management. We are taking measures to improve and streamline internal generation of revenue and to plug all loopholes that have led to illicit capital flight from Nigeria. We are also putting in place mechanisms to prevent oil theft and other criminal practices that are detrimental to our economy. We are taking concrete steps to address present environmental challenges, especially in cleaning up degraded ecosystems caused by oil spillage, land erosion, desertification, and floods. The threat posed by climate change is real and present in our country. It is my hope that as we embark on this renewed journey, we will match our words with deeds so that 2030, when this assembly will meet, the people of all races and creed will say that we have kept faith with each other.
With 17 new goals to be achieved by 2030, the big question is, how might the new framework and SDGs impact how we go about corporate sustainability and CSR in the foreseeable future? Will the collaboration between governments, NGOs, and the private sector have even more success in support of solving the world's poverty and environmental challenges? And will a new set of goals help the world shift from a dangerous business-as-usual path to one of true sustainable development?
One area that has been talked about continuously, looking at all the 19 goals now, is that of inclusion. I think over the years, the stakeholders globally have come to realize that inequality will forever remain like a hindering factor to a lot of developmental issues. So now when you're talking about achieving maternal and child security, food security, water and sanitation security, all these things can come to play when there is equality. In a situation where there is no equality, where some people have access compared to the others, where some people feel a sense of belonging compared to the others, there definitely will always be problems. So you can see that it's obvious that the world bodies have come to understand this, and that has shown in the way it is with the Sustainable Development Goals. There has been a lot of equity, making sure that the main goal is leaving no one behind. Obviously, by the time nobody is left behind, definitely would, by 2030, we'll be able to now think of it and say, yes, I think we've been able to achieve development, and this development has been sustainable.
Much of these goals, experts claim, is welcome and overdue. For example, the more comprehensive coverage of issues such as climate change. The world is, after all, very different now from how it was in 2000. The interplay between a warming climate, agricultural productivity, poverty, and hunger are increasingly apparent.
It's about behavior, it's about livelihoods, it's about lifestyles, it's about, how we consume and we produce, because clearly we can no longer continue to test the planet the way that we do. The one thing about this wonderful planet that we have, the home that we have, is that it can exist without us. We can't exist without it. So there has to be a balanced responsibility in terms of the way in which we live and the way in which we consume and produce the goods that we have. There is a tension where countries need to grow, and so they will do so by burning more coal, perhaps, and using more of our fossil fuels. But we need to find a way to bridge that to renewables, which will do better for our planet. I think that's where developed countries have to step in and help with the technology, help with the financing, and the financing beyond overseas development assistance, where you find unlocking resources for investments. This is an agenda about investing. It's not charity. It's in everyone's interest.
For the smallholder farmer in Africa, escaping poverty is made doubly hard by the fact that climate change makes water less available, land more arid, and weather more unpredictable.
Why we have not been able to achieve so much in MDG, especially in developing countries like Africa. And part of it has to do more with governance, with issue of poverty, with issue of economic policy, with issue of what we call development process. And then along the line, we have also have to fight what we call climate change. I've always described climate change as the greatest threat to human life in this century. And the simple way that I can let people, to me, I can tell people why climate change is so it's something we need to address is, if you remember, a former secretary to government of Nigeria and a former presidential advisor, Chief Olufalaye, was kidnapped. By whom? How did it happen? What really was their motive? By people who are rearing cattle. Why should they leave north to come to south? Effect of climate change. So that alone can tell us that we are sitting on a keg.
Not only in Nigeria, in many parts of the world, access to resources is a major cause of conflict. There are people fighting over land. Or I don't have enough land, or somebody has taken my land, and that can be a conflict, even inter-country conflict. There are people fighting over water, access to water. One of the problems we have in the broader eastern part of Africa is where the UN actually is intervening in Darfur. In Darfur, Sudan, one of the causes of the conflict that has been going on, there are other factors, but it's partly access to resources and mainly water. So how we manage our resources is very, very important. And this is not new to Nigeria. How you manage resources in many parts of the country has been a cause of some conflicts. And yes, I agree, this is something that the country has to take very seriously. And I hope with the focus that we have now, very clear and targets in the Sustainable Development Goals, which actually the government of Nigeria has adopted. His Excellency, the President, was in New York. And if you heard his speech, he was very supportive of the goals. He is very supportive of the goals. And I'm sure Nigeria will make progress in this area.